Lindsay G Smith is an up-and-coming movie star who in her early career has worked with heavyweights, and we have her here on TFR Podcast Live. The Film Review Massive. This is Crazy D. The Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And do we have a great interview for you today? We are sitting here with a up-and-coming film star. You can see her in films, on the stage, on web series, in commercials. We're talking about none other than Lindsay G Smith. How you doing today, Lindsay?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, good. So this is Soul Train Weekend. Are you excited?
Yes, I'm very excited. This is my first time attending the Soul Train Awards. Soul Train is iconic, so I'm just honored to be here, and I'm excited to have this experience.
Okay.
Yes.
So we here at the Film Review are always interested in helping the next generation, the next upcoming film enthusiasts, the film stars who want to be actors in this industry. So the first question I want to ask you is about LSU and what you majored in. Was it theater, television, or film? Was it a combination of all three? And bring the mic up just a little bit for me.
Well, yes. So I attended LSU, Louisiana State University. Go Tigers for undergrad. I actually majored in public relations, and I minored in theater. And the only reason that I didn't major in theater is because my parents they've always supported me, but they weren't really too keen on me having a degree in theater at the time. So minoring was perfect. I was able to still study acting, so my foundation from LSU is theater based. So I was a theater major. Acting in theater was my actual minor, not major, sorry. So yes, that's my minor. I had my experience there. It was a good experience. One of my favorite teachers was my dialect coach, and I love studying dialects. That's just something that I really enjoy. And she actually introduced me, or she actually helped me network and push me to get an agent while I was still in college before I graduated. And so from there, I started auditioning and working before I finished my degree.
Okay, so when you told your parents, well, I think I'm going to do this. I caught the acting bug and I'm going to do this. Yeah. What did they say to you at first?
Well, that conversation actually happened really early on. I was a kid when I felt this desire, and so they always knew. And when I say kid, I was like 3-4 years old, like, no, I'm going to be on Broadway, I'm an actor, I'm going to make movies. And everybody in my family knows it because that's just been who I've been, who I am. So when it was time to go to college, they knew and they supported me with that desire, because growing up I also did theater. Like, I attended NOCA, the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts. I didn't finish there, but I did have some training there, and I was involved in theater around the city growing up. And so when it was time to go to college, though they supported me, they were fine with me minoring in it, but they just weren't so keen on having that be my major, which I understand. Most parents, in arts, the artistic life has its challenges, so they just wanted to make sure I was fine.
Mm-hmm. So are you a triple threat? Do you sing, dance, act, or something?
I want to be I would love to be a triple threat, but right now, like, I have dance experience. I danced as a child, and singing. I want to take vocal lessons. My dad, he's actually a musician and a singer. So he always wants to get me in the studio. He thinks I can do it because he knows my voice well enough. It's just one of those things where I haven't trained in it. So, but I'm very open to the opportunity. I would love to, and I'm an artist, so anything that can push me, anything that I'm afraid of, I kind of want to do. So I would love to play a role where I get to explore my vocal abilities and also get back into dance. I would love to do something physical. Like, I've never been an athlete. I've never had great athletic abilities as far as, like, outside of dance. But I would love to play some type of athlete in a film. That'd be really I'd be a really huge challenge, but I think I'd really enjoy it.
Okay.
Pushing myself.
So before we get into what you've acted in,
Yes.
let's talk about working with agencies to push your brand
Okay.
out so that you can get work. How important, or does it help when you put the different attributes that you have? I can dance, I can jump rope, I used to cheerlead. Does that help for the young actor that's coming up? Does that actually help having that on your resume?
As far as what's on my resume and like
Or
what I have
any
experience
actor's
in,
resume, does that help?
I would like to think so. I think a lot of times with casting decisions, I think that's what we're really talking about. I think it has to do with what you bring into the room at the end of the day, and what casting can see, because there's so much training that you can do. Sorry guys, the flat iron's in my head, so if I pivot, there's so much training that you can do once you book a job. And I know people in the industry, like a friend of mine, he's a fitness instructor, or like a what do you call it? Like
Trainer.
a physical trainer, and he's had a lot of success. And from him, like, I've seen how he's transformed actors. So your body can transform. So I think, if you have the basic abilities, usually, like, that helps. A lot of times for commercials, especially, I would say in those auditions, like, you can come in and you can dance to the beat, or you can engage in whatever the skill is, like skate. Like, a lot of times they're looking for skateboarders or something very specific. So it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into one of your roles.
Okay.
You were actually in Two Guns
Yes,
with
I was.
two superstars.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington and that
Yes.
other guy.
And Mark Wahlberg.
And that other guy.
Yes.
Right? So what was that like? Were you stage struck with them at first?
Like
starstruck? Or?
Yeah, it happens. It happens. And I mean, I knew going in, so I was able to mentally prepare, but there's still that moment where it's like, okay, that's Denzel. Okay. You have those feelings because these are people that I've admired and just wanted to work with for a long time. So when it actually happens, you have to, for me, I just take a breath and remind myself to do the job and to do good work, because I don't want his memory of me to be like, she was crazy, she was a crazy fan.
So what advice did he impart to you?
What did Denzel say? Denzel, and he's really, really kind, really generous, a sweet, sweet person. You know what? He talked to me about keeping the right people around you. And he had his barber, I believe, was on set with him. He had his guy who cut his hair, and I think he travels with him to whatever the projects are, or at least most of the projects, but it was like a friend of his. And having that energy around, it just helps, especially when you're Denzel Washington. And you need, maybe you want to be reminded of who you are as Denzel, not who your fans see you as. Okay. So that was one thing that I do remember from him. He talked to me about that.
Okay, so
and now we have my sister here.
So without further ado, the project that you're working on now that probably brings you to the Soul Train Awards, is that?
Yes,
right?
Yes. So,
and that will be King Esther.
King Esther, yes.
Right. You play Ruth.
Yes, Ruth Papillon.
That's right, Papillon. So you're the sister of the King Esther character.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So describe what King Esther is about.
King Esther is a web series. It's a great web series. It's based in New Orleans. It follows the story of Esther, who is a transgender woman in New Orleans seeking stardom right before Hurricane Katrina hits. And so my character, I play her twin sister, and our family, it's really about our family and her challenges, and because our family has a lot of challenges already, and so then you add in Esther having her transgender journey. There's a lot going on. But it's all very interesting and all set right before Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. and I'm excited to be a part of it. I love the story. I love the way it's shot. It's streaming now on YouTube. Issa Rae's Color Creative. It's on their YouTube channel.
That's right. Issa Rae presents.
Issa Rae presents. So yes.
So
right
let's
now
go
you can
through
stream
that
it.
process, because we are here for the artist, right?
Yes,
So
thank
what is that process like coming in to audition for that? Did you do multiple callbacks? Was Issa Rae actually in the room the first time? When did you actually get to finally stand in front of her?
Okay, so for this project, we shot it. It was an independent, and then after everything was done, the film or I guess a lot of post production was done. Yeah, it was scored. It was completely finished, and then you go out and you look for distribution. So Issa Rae, she was the distributor who purchased it and put it out. And so for me, I actually haven't met Issa Rae yet. The writer director is
Dewey Gerard.
Dewey Gerard, amazingly talented writer and director that I've worked with before. We're friends. So he introduced the idea to me, but I still had to audition for it because he had producers. So I still went in like any other normal audition. He told me about the character. I did meet with him and talk about it, but I went in for the audition and then went back in for the callback. And
so what does that feel like for those who have never done it? See, we go deeper than most interview shows.
Nice.
We want to feel what's inside of the artist when you're walking in the room and you're
To
reading
audition?
code. Right.
Yeah. Well, that one, it wasn't a cold read. But it's always, auditioning is a beast of its own, and it can be challenging and it can be disheartening, but essentially if this is what you want to do, you have to do it. You have to learn how to maneuver, how to audition well and book the work. So auditioning, it can be like your nerves are all over the place because you're walking into a room with, sometimes you know the people. I was lucky this time. I knew at least one of the people. The other people I didn't know. That was my first time meeting them. And sometimes it always depends, because sometimes it's just a casting director. Usually it's just a casting director. He was very hands-on with this project. So it was the casting director, him, and maybe two of the producers on the film. So you just walk in and you just have to be focused on the character. You can't take any of that in. You're here to show them what you can do with the work that they presented to you, the sides, which are the pieces of the script that you're reading for your character. And you just have to remember, like, these people want you to do well because they don't want their time wasted. So they're rooting for you. And it's just, for me, I think the best way to think about it, which isn't what you asked me, but the best way to think about it.
Go ahead. This is very interesting for the audience, believe me.
But the best way to think about it is to just go in with the idea that this is a collaboration. Like, this is what I can bring to your project. Like, I can bring something good. And if we can both, if we're both on the same page about it, then let's go and have fun. If not, okay, cool. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to me. So that's kind of the mindset that I have, which helps me keep my nerves in check, because it can be a nerve-wracking experience.
So what's it like as an actor to be called back to say that you have this role? What does that feel like? What was the first audition that you went on that you got the call back?
Okay.
That we see you in today.
Okay. Okay. Well, like the call back to say like I booked it, or
you
a
got
call
it.
back.
No. You got
okay.
It.
That is thrilling. That is like, yes, like that is like a happy dance moment, very exciting, and then, but then it turns into, okay, I have to do it. So, and it always depends on the character, like how I relate to the character naturally, what work I have to do to bring the character to life. So that can be like, oh gosh, it can be a little intimidating in that sense, but I mean, it's part of it. But it's like an excited nervousness. But what was the first one? I think the first was hurricane season.
Okay.
And
that's with Forrest Whitaker.
That's with Forrest Whitaker.
You've been acting with the heavyweights.
Yeah,
how is that? But let's answer this question first. But then,
okay.
How is that? But go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's been amazing. I have worked with some great famous, super talented, Academy Award winning actors and actresses. And it's thrilling. That one was. I remember the first time I met Forrest Whitaker, it was at the table read for hurricane season. And I think, like, I was so nervous. I think I spilled my water or something, like, because I wasn't expecting him to be there. Oh. So I'm like, oh, wait, what? Like, this was, like, me being brand new. Like, I'm a college student, and I've been trained in theater. Like, I didn't know all, like, the structure of how everything was going to fall into place. So I got the call for a table read, and I'm like, okay, the director wants me to come over here. I'd already met him at the audition and the callbacks. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go read with the director, like rehearsal. And I'm like, oh, everybody's here? Oh, Forrest Whitaker? Oh, you're just right here across from me? But it's great because, like, for example, him, like, he was very gracious, very kind, very supportive, had nothing but words of encouragement and, like, a positive attitude on set with me and with everybody. So everybody who's super famous that I've worked with, I haven't had any issues. Like, everybody's very personable. Their focus is the work and bringing the story to life.
Mm-hmm. Did Forrest Whitaker impart to you any wisdom?
Yeah, it was most of what I've gotten from a lot of people, and Forrest included, was pretty much like remaining humble and not letting any part of, and I'm not saying that I've experienced like this fame, but being focused on the work. And that's what you put your effort and your focus into. Like, anything else that comes with it, okay, it's nice, but at the end of the day, we're actors. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not just, well, yeah, we're actors. So
you come from theater, where you have to project on stage, right?
Yes.
Television, your voice is a little louder, but not as loud as theater. And in film, you really talk in low tones, but you project in the same tone. You don't shout. How long did it take for you to develop those different skill sets in a different style, different ways of acting from television, theater, and film?
For me, I don't think I had that much of a challenge with it. I think even though at LSU I minored in theater, like, maybe it was mentioned, or with me working with, like, my dialect coach. Like, she was huge for me. So I think, especially working with her because she's a dialect coach, and then just going to auditions and realizing, because the auditions are taped, so just kind of reading the room and knowing, like, because in theater you have to project, you have to, everybody, the person in the last row, the furthest seat away from the stage, they have to hear you and hear you clearly. And so for me, I didn't find that much of a challenge with it. And they'll let you know on set, like, bring it down, bring it up, you know. Mm-hmm. So
did they have someone work with you coming in new, because you were used to projecting, and then you have to use more of your diaphragm and deliver? Even a perfect example of that, I think of The Prince of Tides, where have you ever seen that film? Right, where Nick Nolte, Barbara Streisand, right? Yeah. They're in there. She's his psychologist, and he goes off, but his tone never changes. He just barks up, but his tone never changes. But it appears like he's screaming. And that's like one of the perfect examples of using your diaphragm to keep the same tone so you don't peak the mic, right? So did you have someone on set that said, when you're screaming, just more like growl it out or motion it out, and then it will put the illusion across to the audience that you're really screaming real loud?
No, actually, no. I think maybe they've just adjusted it.
Oh, okay.
Like the audio guys. I haven't. No, so that wasn't. That is important. You have to bring it down, and not just vocally, but in your performance, because the camera picks up every little thing, and in theater you're playing in a space, so we have the camera that's picking up everything that's going on in your eyes. So you can't be too big, or depending on the story and the character and whatnot. So you have to make sure that it all comes in together.
So on King Esther, right? Yes. There's a scene with you, your mother, and your transgender woman sister, right? That scene right there, how long did it take to block it, and how many different emotional sets did you give it? Like, because you went kind of, like off on her, right?
Yeah.
And was there other takes where you were more calm, or what was your thinking within that scene? Because you're also dealing with a heavyweight with Miss Hubert, right?
Yes,
Sitting there,
Miss
and
Janet Hubert.
I did not know that was
Mom.
her.
Yeah.
When she first comes on screen, when she's telling the son-in-law to take King Esther to her audition.
Yeah. She
right?
transformed.
She transformed the dialect, everything. I did not know
Yes.
that was her. So you're sitting there with a heavyweight, right?
Yes.
Who is bringing out emotion from all types of things from her past. She's bringing it to this character.
Mm-hmm.
And you're sitting here, and then you have King Esther, right?
Or Esther. Yeah,
Esther.
her character is Esther.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was that setup like? How did you block it? What did you discuss with them?
I'm trying to remember because this was actually filmed 2 years ago. But for that, the blocking was actually different from what was scripted.
Okay.
So on set, you have to remain flexible because things change. So the blocking, it was really quick, and it was up to the director. Like on set, my role is to be where they need me to be. So he told me like, this is how we're going to do it. Especially since it was, we went in a different blocking direction than what was actually scripted. So he let us know.
Do you remember what was in the script?
In the script, it was the scene actually took place in the kitchen. And see, I remember this more because I studied it, So we were in the kitchen, and I was going through cabinets because I was pissed off because she had like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Like now it's coming back to me. I had given her money for food, and she didn't buy food. She spent it on like cigarettes or something when she had health issues, cigarettes and like alcohol. So that's what it was, like me going through. So then I think the lines kind of changed too. So you really have to be flexible on sex. Things will you just have to stick with it. But so as far as the blocking, with the changes, because there was whatever the reasoning that they decided to change it, they came and let us know. The director did, just, we're going to maneuver this way. And as far as the emotional range, I think my first take was, well, this scene, it's really interesting because it's like our characters. And when you watch, especially when you watch the entire series, you can really see our dynamic and how intricate and leveled it is. And this was like a scene where I was expressing frustration, and my character in the family, that's not who she is. She's the more subdued one. Everybody else is kind of like, I'm wearing my emotions on the sleeve, and my character's more repressed. Mm-hmm. And so this was like, us having it out. But I think my first take was, I don't know, and maybe it was more subdued. I know we played with different things, mm-hmm. for sure.
Mm-hmm. But in this scene, you let the character's emotions go.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas probably in another scene, you probably played it more subdued because she loves her sister.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely love her to pieces. My character, she really loves her family, and Dewey's such a great writer, and the entire cast is amazing. Rowan, who plays Esther, amazing, and it was her first time acting, and just like the backstory on these characters, because I think the script actually, he started out as a play, and so there's more backstory and what our family had gone through with our father. We had other brothers that were killed, so it's like we already, like at least for my character, she had already lost so much. So it's like my sister, we have all these issues, but I can't lose another sibling. I can't lose anybody else. So, so she goes through a lot with her sister, and she wants to be there for her mom and her family, her brother, and
how important was it to you, because the character Ruth is actually introduced there, right? Was there a pressure to bring her across in that way? Because obviously the director took the take that he liked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there pressure on you because in the script it says here's this introduction of this character Ruth to the whole dynamic of what had already been built, the world that had already been built,
Yes.
and here she comes. Was there any pressure on you knowing that that was where your character is introduced?
Not so much knowing that's where my character was introduced, but I mean, I was nervous because I was working in that capacity alongside Miss Janice Hubert, you know, OG Aunt Viv, who I've seen and admired on TV for a long time. But I don't know. I don't know if I think about shooting in that way. To say,
Okay,
like,
well, explain your method.
Yeah, to say like this is how you're introduced to my character. I don't know. I think it was like there's always like I was excited, and especially because it was like my opportunity to tell Esther something.
Or were you shot out of order? Did you shoot some earlier scenes that
we
come
did
later?
We did shoot like what would be, I guess, in the final episode. I think that was the first scene that I shot. But when you watch it, you'll see that scene is more like everybody. Like you're just feeling the vibe from everybody. Like it's not so much of that shouting. So I was intimidated, I guess, in that sense, to show my character in this light, because it was like she was at her breaking point almost. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know, no, this is good. Believe me,
Okay.
when people, for artists, that's what we focus on, right? So what's the 5-year plan for Lindsay? What's your 5-year plan? What do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years?
Working, for sure, working consistently, and I'm also working on. Well, I'm a producer also, so I'm working on producing my own projects, both narrative and documentary. So I have a docu-series that I'm developing that I'm really excited about right now. So that's the current project. I'm looking to get my narrative pieces produced and pitched and out for everybody to see. I work with my other sister. So one sister does my hair and makeup, Erin Noel, hair by Erin Noel _ on Instagram. And my other sister is a writing partner of mine. So I'm excited for us to grow and explore that and to play nuanced, crazy characters. I'm ready to play crazy.
Oh, you're ready to play crazy?
I'm ready to play crazy, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oscar,
Yeah.
And no, usually when I first ask that
Oscar,
question, first person say Oscar,
Well, I guess
Tony,
for me it's more so like all that's great. Oh,
Emmy.
yeah, of course that's great. But for me, it's like I guess I focus on like the work aspect. I really enjoy the work. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy it. I enjoy people. I enjoy stories. I enjoy how humans work and exploring that. And that's a big thing for me. You know, and Oscar, of course, like no actor's going to say, no, I don't need it, you know. But for me, when I think about my 5-year plan, I think more of in terms of the actual work that I'm doing, producing, creating, acting in. So I just want to tell great stories.
That's great. So what did Janice Hubert, what information did she impart to you? What wisdom?
What wisdom did Mrs. Hubert give me? She dropped a lot of jewels. Like every day on set, I was like, okay, where's it? Like this is my jewels session. You're just sharing this great wisdom with me. But essentially, everybody, I guess it's along the same lines, like staying humble, staying focused on the work, and doing a great job, and being true to yourself.
Okay. So where can they see you? Where can they reach you? How can they stay in contact with you on social media?
Okay, on social media, my Instagram handle is the number one, Lindsay G Smith, and it's the same on Twitter, I believe. Because I'm not really active on Twitter. My Twitter is usually like my Instagram pictures. So it's really on Instagram, and you can see me in King Esther as Ruth Papillon right now, streaming on YouTube at youtube.com/Issa Rae. And right now, episodes 1 through 5 are up, and we have 2 more. So I hope you would join us on this journey. Check out what Papillons have going on.
Okay, so that's it, people. The Film Review, Movies, Music, Culture, Politics, Society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.